Welcome to episode numero uno of the Fitness for Back Pain podcast. I'm super excited to be launching this first episode. Believe it or not, this is probably the third time I've shot this. I'm trying to actually get the video version of this for you guys as well as the audio version of this, but odds are we're going to have to just go with audio because if this video is showing you, it was a miracle that you're watching it. But who cares? Awesome things to come. I'm super excited about just all things Fitness for Back Pain podcast. I'm going to have guests, really cool topics that are just going to be very raw, very upfront, in your face, opinionated. So if you are looking to find ways to maximize your heating pad or your ice packs or your medications that you're getting from your street pharmacist that are taking the edge off your pain, this is not the podcast for you. I'm going to give you real world advice from practical places, right? We're talking about things that you can take action on from experience, not just theory. And it's going to be good. So today's podcast, I really want to dive into a topic that is very near and dear to my heart because, you know, when I was 21, 22 years old, I was diagnosed with a ruptured L5-S1 disc and degenerative discs above that site, and it wrecked my life, right? For 3, 4, 5, 6 years after that, I was in this trench of navigating what I wanted to do, what I thought was right for myself, and then what the doctors, people who were very smarter than I was at the time, and still smarter than me now, who that were telling me to do a certain thing or go down a certain path with my specific injury. And I'm so thankful to God that he kind of led me away from that place and has given me this platform to teach you and help you and empower you to take the same type of leap when you're ready, but also just to empower you, hopefully, to take control of your life, take control of your chronic back pain situation, whether you are post-fusion, discectomy, laminectomy, herniation, bulge, rupture, whatever your back pain situation is, does not matter what it is. There's so much you can control, and the medical model is not telling you that. They're not giving you the tools you need. So in today's episode, we're going to dive into that. I'm going to give you some backstory of why I feel that way, why that, in my opinion, is a fact, and what you can do about it, okay? So let's dive in. The big overarching concept of what I want to kind of cover with this idea of, you know, the medical model. The medical model, I believe, is ruining chronic back pain sufferers opportunities and chances to actually see real lasting results without any kind of medical intervention. You know, you can take the other side of this of like nothing but holistic is the way to go. Like, you know, curcumin, take your turmeric, like all these different types of holistic type of ways of doing it. So I don't necessarily categorize myself as a holistic type of person, but you're going to find out that a lot of the concepts I teach are based around movement, around strength training, and retraining your brain. If you don't see this video, I'm pointing to my head. Your brain, it's a massive tool that you're going to use in your recovery. So a long time ago, years and years ago, probably about 10 plus years ago, I was like I said in the earlier part of the episode, I was diagnosed with a ruptured L5-S1 disc and degenerative discs above that site. They immediately, once I kind of went to the doctors, it was a local guy, best in the area where I was living in Virginia, and their suggestion was to get scans. Obviously, like, we can do some PT, but most time now PTs do not. They won't come see you, or they won't allow you into their clinic unless they have some kind of X-ray, MRI done, so they can kind of do a good evaluation on you. So I did the MRI, and that's where I got my diagnosis, and that's when they shipped me off to PT. So I went through the 6 weeks of PT and did all the hip flexor stretches because they thought my hip flexors were tight, which was causing a bunch of compression on my disc, which was making my pain worse. Then they threw me on the traction machine, and they were pulling me apart, which honestly felt really good, but I was just wrecked for days afterwards. And then once they realized that, okay, well, this isn't working anymore, right? We're going to have to do something different. And that's when pain management comes in. Let me take a sip of my coffee real quick. So once pain management got brought up, now we're talking injections, we're talking potential surgery, and I was like, dude, this is crazy. And I remember And this is after chiros. This is after PTs. My first phase of finding these people, right? I got really kind of detailed and found like specialists later down the road that I'll save for another day. But I was sitting in my anatomy 2 class. This is before I graduated college, and I was set to have my first injection that day. And something inside of me was just like, cancel that appointment and take ownership of what you can control. That was it. And I was like, that's dumb. I'm a dumb college student. I know nothing better than anybody in that clinic, in my opinion. And they know what's right. The medical model, the doctors and the white coats know what's best for me and my back. And I believed that to be true. And it was very false. It was very wrong. So I canceled that injection, and they were having talks of, if this doesn't work, then the next step is kind of like pain management, medication, if you don't know what pain management is. And if pain management doesn't work, if it gets worse, obviously you start losing your ability to walk and things like that. As I progressed or got worse and worse, they were like, yeah, like you could potentially have a fusion. All that to say, I'm very familiar with how the medical model works. Okay, so you have an injury, you have a back pain issue, you go see them, they say, okay, and then they will write you a script to go see a PT, and then or PT and MRI, you get that, and then you're given your diagnosis. Your diagnosis is what the medical model says, that this is how this person is broken, and in order for us to fix this brokenness of this person, we must do this. Insert formula. And in that formula is the medical model. And then you go down the PT route. That's either success or failure. You usually come out 50-50. And then once that doesn't work, you go home and you create more painful issues in your back because you never really treated the root cause. Now you're talking about injections. Now you're talking about medication. If that doesn't work, then you're going to surgery. That is the medical model, period. These people who are in these hospitals, they care for you. They're very, very smart people, but their knowledge and experience goes very shallow when it comes to treating the root cause of chronic back pain. They are taught for speed. They are taught for quick diagnoses and then quick treatment, setting the best research-based whatever when it comes to the medical model. And I'm telling you right now, if I were to give you any advice on if you're in chronic back pain and you're like, okay, I'm on this fence of going and seeing my provider, my doctor, going down the route that they have for me, and then this crazy person on a podcast or video is saying I should do something different, right? I should take control. I should start doing exercises. Maybe he's going to give me some secret core training. No, I'm not going to give you that. But not today, at least. But what I am going to give you is literally the strategy that you can implement through this podcast. We're going to cover a lot of that stuff. But the number one reason why, or the first reason really, is that I think the medical model is really wrecking our chances as chronic back pain sufferers to get out of that label of being a chronic back pain sufferer. Like I don't live in chronic back pain anymore, but I still identify, and when I communicate in my content, I'm like, I know who you are. I was where you were, right? I feel your pain. But one of the main reasons why I really don't agree with the medical model is because in this model, you are taking your control and you are relying on his or her understanding of your body. Okay? Mind you, your doctor, surgeon, chiro, PT, all they know of you is the way you look because you're in front of them, and then your MRI scans. That's it. You might say I have some sciatica. You might say my glutes are tight. You might say my QLs are tight. Whatever you might be saying doesn't matter. At the end of the day, that's all they know of you. So you're banking on, trusting them 100%, you're banking on them taking that image, taking the look of what you have given them, and making the best decision when it comes to treating your pain. The problem is their formula, their strategy is the same formula and strategy they put everybody through. It's simple. It's streamlined. It's automated. It makes money. It makes a lot of money for them. Okay? So what you got to understand is you know you might not be an anatomy or biomechanics expert. You might not have a degree in exercise science. You might not be 14 plus years in the fitness space and helping back pain people. That's not you. Odds are it's not you. But what you are really good at is running, waking up and living in your body, which means you know your symptoms intimately. You know what triggers your pain intimately. You know what doesn't trigger your pain intimately. You know the things that help you. You know the things that don't help you. You know that what you've tried in the past, and you know what you really haven't messed with because you haven't either been told of that stuff or you're afraid to do it. The number one thing that you have to remember when it comes to lasting chronic back pain relief is the only way it happens is if the owner of the vessel, the body, comes to terms with the fact that you have the most control over anyone you'll ever meet of overcoming your chronic back pain. You do, no one else. Do not let your doctor dictate what he or she thinks you should do based off of an MRI scan and symptoms. It's not going to be good. You're going to go down the same path that everyone else has gone down. Okay? The other concept of this is kind of riffing off of that first one is they're basing everything off of an image, right? When you look at an image, like when you were to see my spine, and now we're 10 years later, my spine probably looks very different than it did when I was first diagnosed with the L5S1 rupture and degenerative discs above that site. My spine probably looks worse than it did back then. I was young, fresh, green, not even married yet, you know? So if anything, my body looked awesome from an MRI scan. Now, if I were to go back, and I'm probably going to do this just for the fun of it, and get an MRI scan, my spine would probably be more degenerative. Maybe the space between my L5S1 disc is even less because that disc is just going away. You know, my body's absorbing it. Who knows? I really don't care. But the thing is you cannot base your strategy off of an MRI because the MRI shows one image in space. It's just like, boom, they take a picture. It's like you go and, you know, you're on a family vacation and you're just having a ball, man. There's so many cool things happening. There was good times and bad times and that funny thing that your uncle said and that crazy thing your dog did and then the funny thing that your wife did. Like you have all these different situations in one trip, but then you take a picture and you snap a picture of all the family together and you're like, that's a good picture. That's a good picture. That picture has no context of how the trip went, what happened on the trip, what everybody was going through that day, the craziness of the entire family vacation. There's so much context that goes into that image that's so important. But so if that's the case, if you can't judge a family reunion or trip off of one image, then how is a doctor or a surgeon able to base your plan of action off of one image? This doesn't make sense to me, right? Like, I'm sure if you're a radiologist or whatever, you can make sense of this stuff because that's what you do for a living. But at the end of the day, you're just pointing out damage, period. And the thing about damage is when it comes to the spine, you know, there is herniations, there's bulges, there's disc ruptures, there's all different kinds of spine abnormalities, stenosis, degeneration that they don't correlate with pain. Listen to me. There's research and proof out there that just because you have a herniated or bulging disc does not mean you will be in pain. Just because you are overweight, you consider yourself fat, like legit overweight, like obese, right? Or just any kind of overweightness, if that's a word. Just because you're overweight does not mean that your pain will be higher. Because if that's the case, then skinny people would have less pain in their backs from their herniated disc. And buff, muscular fitness heads would be in less pain because their body's in shape. Their body's used to being beaten down from weights and running and all the things that these crazy people do in the gym. That's not true, though. So you've got to hang up this concept of this is my diagnosis, right? I have a herniated bulging disc. I'm in severe pain. I don't know what to do. They were telling me cutting the disc out is going to make it better. That just makes sense to me, so I'm going to go with that. I'm here to tell you, if you're listening to this, that's not your only option anymore. It's done. That is an option, but just like you go to Outback Steakhouse and there's all different kinds of steaks you can get, there's different options for your back. I'm sorry to, compare your back to a Outback Steakhouse steak, which I think is garbage, actually. But it's true. Like, you have so many options, and so I want you to take that MRI. This is your step number one. Take the MRI right now, and I want you to put it in your filing cabinet, or you can crumble it up. If you make copies, just crumble it up. But if you need it, take your MRI, put it in a filing cabinet, and stuff it away. Okay? And I want you to say, I will not be labeled, I will not be bound by what my doctor has told me. This is legit. If you want to get on the, starting today, episode 1, if you want to get on the path of getting out of pain, 1, you're taking control over what you can control. This is based off of action, mechanical exercise, things you can do that you'll learn later through this podcast and on my channel, my YouTube channel. So taking control, understand that you are the best physician for yourself when it comes to your chronic back pain. Doesn't matter what your background is. And the second thing is you are not defined by your MRI. Take it, put it away. You are a new creation today, going forward, and you, despite your pain, will commit to trusting the process, gathering information, asking questions, getting help, hiring a coach, investing in yourself, reading books, and doing the work. Because that's what it's going to take to see lasting relief, period. And I'm going to help you get there. I'm going to help you every step of the way, and I'm going to show you exactly what you can do, okay? So just to kind of close this out, because I kind of blended the last 2 points into one. So I told you 3, but we're going to go with 2, okay? So the main thing I want you to walk away with is this idea that the medical model is your knight in shining armor, because they're not. Your doctor is not. Your physical therapists are not. Just because they have a white coat, just because they have letters after their name, just because it really doesn't matter. There's great personal trainers and there's terrible personal trainers. There's great police officers, then there's terrible police officers. There's great teachers and there's terrible teachers. So how in the world, if all the doctors are given the same information, it's not like one doctor's like, you know what? The education that I'm getting, I'm going to use it the way it should be used. No, they're all getting the same education. Yeah, someone might have gone to a higher up college, a university, or a graduate school, but it's still the same. They're not being taught about chronic back pain. So you're no longer defined by your MRI. You have control over your situation. You're going to gain more control through content. If this is your first time ever even learning about fitness for back pain, then stay tuned. There's going to be lots of awesome content you can get. I've got 8 years, probably close to that, of YouTube content. You can go over to my YouTube channel, fitness, the number 4 back pain. You can go to fitnessforbackpain.com, check that out as far as the site goes. If you want to really dive headfirst into taking something away today to take action on, I highly suggest, and if you like to exercise, I'm assuming this is a health and fitness podcast, so odds are you probably do at least 1 push-up a week, at least. If you do 1 push-up a week, then you're in the right spot, okay? You can go to fitnessforbackpain.com/pain-free training, and there is a free guide for you to take away and actually start taking action on the movement and exercise portion of your strategy. Trust me when I say you will never get on a piece of content that I put out that will give you every single minute, nuanced step of your back pain relief, because my friend, listen to me, it's it does not exist. Okay? You can train your core till the cows come home. You can do all the hip stretches that you want. You can hear all the people say tight hips cause back pain. You can hear all the people say that tight hamstrings cause back pain. And you can stretch your hamstrings until you are content. But I'm going to tell you, it's not that easy. It can become easy. It can become very streamlined. It can become very straightforward. But you got to put the pieces together, and I'm going to help you do that, okay? Thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you go grab that free guide. Again, this is episode 1. We got some cool stuff down the road. Just making lasting back pain relief simplified. I got some really cool interviews to come in the future here, so stay tuned for that. I think that's it. Thanks, and I'll see you guys on the next episode.